They say there are 48 laws of power. They say Machiavelli wrote the guidebook to manipulation. They say Robert Greene perfected it. But what if there was one law they left out? One hidden principle that the truly powerful never write down because it's too dangerous to reveal. This is the 49th law. The law that decides who survives when all other laws collapse. The law that dictators whisper. The law that CEOs deny. The law that presidents act on while pretending to follow something else. The 49th law is simple, but it is terrifying. It is the law of adaptive ruthlessness. History hides it in plain sight. Machiavelli hinted at it in The Prince. He spoke of lions and foxes. He spoke of appearing virtuous while secretly committing the darkest acts. But he never said it outright. He knew better. The true rule is this. All laws are tools, but the 49th law tells you to break them all if survival demands it. It is the law that floats above the others. The ultimate weapon, the hidden ace in the deck. The 49th law is why revolutions succeed when books say they shouldn't. It is why the underdog sometimes wins. It is why the weak can rise to power if they are willing to do what the strong refuse to do. Think about Julius Caesar. He crossed the Rubicon when tradition said stop. He knew the laws of Rome, but he followed the law above the laws. He adapted. He was ruthless, and he took Rome for himself. Think about Napoleon. Exiled, defeated, finished. But he escaped. He gathered an army again. He stormed back into power because he refused to die quietly. He bent reality until it cracked. The 49th law gave him one more empire before the end. Think about modern leaders. The speeches sound noble. The promises sound moral. But behind closed doors, alliances shift. Enemies are bribed. Rivals are erased. You don't get to the top by playing fair. You get to the top by refusing to be bound when it matters most. The 49th law whispers a dark truth. When all other strategies fail, power belongs to the one who will do what the others won't. It is the law of the knife behind the smile. The law of the mask that drops at midnight. The law of survival by any means. You won't read it in textbooks because schools are designed to tame people, not awaken them. You won't hear it in the media because the media serves those already in power. You won't even find it fully in the 48 laws of power because Greene wrote for the ambitious, not the merciless. But history is written by those who obeyed the 49th law. Look at the world now. Nations fall. Currencies collapse. Markets shift overnight. The ones who rise are not the smartest, not the kindest, not the most talented. They are the ones who adapt without hesitation. They are the ones who cut ties when necessary. They are the ones who betray allies today to keep power tomorrow. This is why conspiracies exist. Because when elites practice the 49th law, it looks impossible to the rest of us. We think there must be some grand secret society pulling strings. But the truth is more brutal. It's not robes and rituals. It's people who refuse to lose. People who bend every rule until it breaks. You wonder why some billionaires rise faster than entire nations? You wonder why certain families hold power for centuries. You wonder why governments pretend to fight each other while shaking hands in the dark. This is the 49th law in action. It looks like magic, but it's not magic. It's merciless adaptation. The 49th law destroys myths. We are told to follow rules. Work hard, be honest. Obey the system. But when crises hit, those rules vanish. 2008 showed us. The banks were saved. The people were abandoned. Because the 49th law said, protect the throne at any cost. And if you want to rise, you must understand this. You don't need to love it, but you must see it. The ones who thrive were not chained by morality. When the knife is at their throat, they act. They adapt. They strike. Machiavelli hinted at it. He wrote that a prince must not always be good, that a prince must learn to enter evil when necessary. But he stopped short of spelling out the 49th law. He couldn't. Even he feared it. But today, in a world collapsing into chaos, the mask is gone. The 49th law is everywhere. Look at politics. Candidates talk about unity while sabotaging each other in secret. Look at business. Companies talk about ethics while crushing competition with dirty tricks. Look at war. Nations sign treaties with smiles while planning invasions in the shadows. The 49th law is the truth beneath the lies. And here is the conspiracy no one says aloud. The people at the top know this law. They may disagree on everything else, but they all obey this one rule, and that is why they stay at the top. Some call it resilience. Some call it pragmatism. But strip away the polish, and it is ruthlessness, pure and simple. A refusal to die. A refusal to play by rules that were written to control them. This is why revolutions are always betrayed. Because the leaders who rise from the ashes practice the 49th law the moment they taste power. They promise freedom. Then they chain you again. Because freedom was never the goal. Power was. Do you see the pattern? History is a graveyard of those who followed rules too closely. Kings who trusted. Generals who hesitated. Movements that stayed loyal. They all died. And above their bones stand the ones who adapted faster. The 49th law is not moral. It is not fair. It is not even wise in the normal sense. But it is real. And it decides who holds the crown when the dust clears. So what do you do with this knowledge? Do you become ruthless yourself? Do you step into the dark? Or do you simply understand that those who rise will always bend further than you expect? Awareness itself is power. Because once you see the 49th law, you can never unsee it. You recognize it in leaders. You spot it in companies. You feel it in relationships. You know who will betray and who will kneel? Because the mask slips in their actions. And here is the final warning. If you try to rise without obeying the 49th law, you will fail. If you expect the world to be fair, you will lose. If you think others will fight clean, you will bleed. The 49th law is merciless. It asks you to adapt or die, to betray or be betrayed, to cut away weakness and become untouchable. It is the law no one wants to admit exists, but it is the law that rules them all. Machiavelli gave us the language of power. Green gave us the manual. But the hidden law was always there, behind the curtain. The ultimate survival code. And the ones who run the world already know it. Now you do too! The question is simple. Will you ignore it? Or will you use it? Because the 49th law does not wait. It does not care. It is already shaping the next empire. It is already crowning the next ruler. It is already deciding who lives and who falls. The 49th law is not written in books. It is written in blood.